All right, so today we're going to be looking at data grain, aggregation, and scope of a project, and then looking at the DIKW temple and basically using the whole picture. So first, let's talk about data aggregation. So data aggregation pretty much means we're looking at timeframes and types of data to use. So seeing information for one day versus 1 year leads to many different focuses. So obviously, if I'm looking at one day, so if I'm just looking at yesterday's sales, I can look at many different data points such as customers, major customers, regions, times, locations, other data points such as those. So, but now if I'm looking at yearly, that is a much broader time. So if, let's take the amount of customers or the times that things were ordered. Think about how massive that report will be when I'm looking at times ordered. So if I'm looking in a day over a 24-hour span, it's a lot of data points, but again, it's very easy to condense all of that. But for an entire year, think of every single day, the amount of sales that we've done. It's not necessary. So as you get into more broader times, you're going to look more broadly at the scope of the project. So maybe looking at just total sales, maybe looking at total items sold instead of breaking each line item down because it's just not necessary for us. So the DIKW temple, this is just the flow of information. So there's 4 layers to the temple. We'll start from the bottom here, working our way up. So data is your raw points with no real rhyme or reason. So these are just the actual data points that are coming into our company. So I'm going to use the idea of a movie or a movie script. So the language that the script is written in, all of the letters and words that are used, is your data. All right. Information is then formatting that data to make coherent sense. So again, with our movie script idea, we take a bunch of words, just a bunch of different English language words. We put them into sentences, into paragraphs, into pages, into a story. So all of that eventually leads up to a story. Now, knowledge is using that information to make informed decisions. So maybe you read part of the script and you think you have an idea of what is going on, so you decide to make an inference of what is going to happen. So that is where the knowledge comes from. And the wisdom is taking all of that information points and all of that and then laying out what exactly happened. So in our movie script idea, we guessed what was going to happen. And then after reading the ending, we now know exactly what happened. That is the wisdom stage. So each stage leads to a different point. So by just taking data, there's no real anything with that besides we have the data. By formatting that into a way that we can read it, that makes it easier for us. Then by taking that, we can forecast and decide exactly what needs to be done. And then we can see what worked and what didn't work via the wisdom stage. So currently, Jeff, our financial analyst, he's doing a fantastic job, but he's looking more detail oriented than we need him to. So currently, Jeff looks at the data and focuses on a very narrow scope. He goes line by line and creates a report based on that. Now, that may work for some instances, but as a broad scope, it's not going to work maybe quarterly or maybe yearly. So while Jeff looks at single line transactions, he is then taking that one line and making a broad decision based on that. So he is forecasting very broad by looking at just one single line item, looking at single line item, looking at single line item. So we need him to look at a bigger picture when making our quarterly reports, our yearly reports, our monthly reports. Not looking so fine comb teeth nailed through all of the data, but looking more broad. Having too much data can bog down a report. So grain of data means the detail being used. So if you think about it, if you think about like a grain of rice, if we constantly look through each grain of rice, it's not going to go well. But if we look at the whole barrel that the rice is being held in, we can then decide or make decisions based on that. So asking Jeff to provide a quarterly report with the same level of detail as a daily report is not necessary. Just like I spoke on earlier, We don't need certain data points to make these decisions. We only need the base data points that we absolutely need. So when looking at monthly, quarterly, and yearly reports, we need sales information, not customer details. Because how does the one customer named Jim affect what we're going to do sales wise total for the entire quarter? He doesn't. Now, can we look at his repeat customer and see how many times he will frequent the site? Absolutely. But will that help us when we're making a quarterly or yearly distinguishment? No. So we only need the necessary information such as sales, total items sold, and things of that nature, because we don't need the whole broad. We need the whole broad scope explained to us. We don't need just the one narrow customer information or the one narrow customer thing, time sold. We want to make informed decisions based on exactly what we see. So having too much data can lead to bogging down the report and making Jeff's job a little more hard. By letting Jeff know exactly what we need in our quarterly and monthly and yearly reports, he can make his job much simplified and much easier and make our decisions a lot easier to make. So the better system here is looking at more of the broad scope when dealing with sales. Line by line reports are not going to show the major scope. It's like taking a single line of a book and basing the entire book on that one line. The whole scope must be included. So going back to that temple, if we just took page 1 of our movie script, we're not going to be able to make an informed decision. If we take page 1 and 2, yes, our decision becomes a little more informed, but are we really going to be able to make it? You must take the entire scope of the entire script before we're able to make any informed decisions. That is all I have for you guys today. Keep up the good work.